Governor Stitt, welcome. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Man, it's so good to be with you.
Yeah, happy to have you here. This is it, your last session as governor. Let's talk about your #1 priority.
Well, I think the #1 priority is going to be just continuing the momentum that we've built for the last 7 years. I tell people I always focus on what I think all Oklahomans want me to, and that's improving our education system, our infrastructure, our economy, and healthcare. And so those 4 priorities have not changed for the last 7 years, and we'll continue to push the needle to be the most business-friendly state. We've got a lot of great plans. Hope everybody's watching on Monday as we lay out how great our state's doing.
Yeah, and so those are always the big talkers. We know people always want to know about education, taxes, workforce. Let's talk about some of the bills that you would really love to see get passed this year addressing those issues.
Well, one of them, as most Oklahomans know, I was able to appoint for the first time 7 years in the superintendent of education, right? So that's a separately elected position, and I think it was too political. And so I'm going to ask the legislature to send that to a vote of the people to allow the next governor to appoint the superintendent of education. So take politics out of it, and I just think that's a really important piece of legislation. Also, we have the largest savings account we've ever had in state history. We have $3.7 billion. So I'm asking the legislature, let's secure that for future generations to protect it. Let's set up an endowment to protect those savings, and it would kick off revenue for education, for business development. Other states do those type of things, and so that's another thing we're going to ask for. Also, to just continue to expand school choice, putting parents in charge of the kids' education. So those are some of the topics we're going to be talking about.
Okay, what about taxes? People always want to know about those. I know that in the past you've pushed for more cuts. What are we seeing this session?
So this last session, we had a great tax reform plan. We got Path to Zero put in place. I got 1/4 of a point off of the personal income tax. I got rid of the grocery tax. In my time as governor, I have cut taxes by $1.6 billion, put that money back in Oklahoma's pocket, and that spurred this movement of people moving to Oklahoma because these other higher tax states are causing people to flee, like California. And so we're really proud of that. But we have the Path to Zero now, and so we'll probably talk a little bit about property tax. And I think that's something that we can all agree on. We hate it when our property taxes just keep going up every single year. And we need to be very careful because as Oklahoma's values increase, we have to protect Oklahomans because we have a lot of people on fixed incomes, first-time home buyers. That's part of the American dream is being able to own a home, and I don't want to price people out of that dream.
Yeah, so you have branded Oklahoma as open for business. Before your time in office comes to an end, how do you hope that this session will strengthen that message?
Well, I talk a lot about the American dream, and Oklahoma is the best place to live, to work, to raise a family. And we're going to continue that momentum. And I think if we get our economy booming and we give people the freedoms to send their kids to schools they want, the freedoms to start their business, the free markets that we believe so much in, and limit government, that's just going to continue to grow our economy. And I remind Oklahomans, if our economy's booming, guess what? It helps education, it helps infrastructure. You notice you're not hearing much about infrastructure because I have funded infrastructure at record levels. Our roads and bridges and our bridge conditions are top 10 in the country. I've put more money in public education in my 7 years than they did for 25 years before I got here. So we'll continue that momentum, and it's because Oklahomans elected a businessman governor that we've seen such tremendous success over the last 7 years.
What do you think your legacy as governor is? What do you hope Oklahomans remember when your time in office comes to an end?
I hope they realize the culture that we've changed, this winning culture, this top 10. As a guy that grew up in Norman, Oklahoma, and a fourth-generation Oklahoman, sometimes 7 years ago, if you remember, we were having teacher walkouts, we were having budget deficits, and we weren't winning like I was seeing in other states. And so now Oklahoma is winning. We're winning competition. We have opportunities. We have Last year was the biggest year of economic development, about $14 billion in projects. You're seeing Google double down in Oklahoma. You're seeing the new aluminum smelter company, it's a $6 billion investment coming to Oklahoma. You're seeing a lot of companies expand and grow, and you're not seeing that in other states. And so that winning culture is something I'm really proud of.
All right, the session starts next week. We'll be watching that closely as it moves along. I do want to switch over now to some national headlines. You recently raised some concerns over federal tactics happening in Minneapolis, saying Americans don't like what we're seeing right now. What specifically is concerning to you?
Yeah, you know, first off, President Trump was elected because he wanted to secure the border. And there's broad agreement because the Biden administration was disastrous with the border, open borders. And that's caused a lot of problems. But now, when we all want to get violent criminals out of our state and out of our country, and so you're seeing that happen. But now the question is turned to what's next? What are we supposed to do now? How do we actually fix the immigration policy? How do we fix workforce needs? How do we let governors, and I think the governors should have a seat at the table to literally match employers with employees, right? So if you're not on welfare or government assistance or Medicaid, we're overcomplicating this. We should allow people to come into the country legally and be matched up with an employer and have that, and if that employer is vouching for them, we love that. And I'm excited to see President Trump has now changed tactics. You saw him put new leadership in Minneapolis. Just today, we saw Homan talk about reducing the force because we need to turn down the temperature, and these governors need to work with the president. We're working with the president, getting violent criminals, getting people in our prisons over to ICE to get them out of our country. But we also we're taking care of our employers and making sure that we have a pathway to people that want to work legally.
And I do want to talk about that a little bit more. You also said that you don't think Americans want to see every single non-U.S. citizen deported. So what policy do you support for undocumented immigrants who are working, who have deep roots in the U.S.? I mean, specifically for Oklahoma, the Policy Institute says that undocumented immigrants contribute more than $227 million in state and local taxes.
Yeah, you know, I would like to see the federal government give that to the states, right? The federal government is overcomplicating this. Other countries have figured it out. I don't even think we should give U.S. citizenship. I think we're way too free with that. Other countries protect their citizenship. But yet, if you're going to chase the American dream, if you're working, if the employer is saying, hey, I need this talent and I need this workforce, then why are we overcomplicating it? As long as you have a job and the employer is vouching for them and they're paying taxes, contributing, and you're not on government assistance, we like that. We like that part of our economy. So I think we're going to be missing out if we get rid of the talent that's here. And so it's complicated. A lot of people think, well, they should go back and then come back in, or we should figure out a way. First step President Trump did was secure the border, which we had to do. And now we have to deal with how do we fix our economy and how do we make sure employers have the talent they need. We also, one of the thoughts is make the employers pay $5,000 so they're incentivized to hire a U.S. citizen. But if they can't find someone in agriculture or construction, they can pay a fee that pays down the national debt, whatever, and they're vouching for that person.
Okay, and we are out of time. I'm sorry to our producers. I just quickly want to ask you this question. Plans to bring an ICE processing facility to OKC. Thoughts on that and your message to a community who right now is scared because of what they're seeing happening in other states and other cities?
Yeah, we're going to make sure that we bring the temperature down in Oklahoma and we get violent criminals out of our state. They don't ask our permission, governors, before they open up a facility. So we haven't had any communications at all on that. But I will be talking to the White House to make sure that we do everything the right way. I know our law enforcement, in the very beginning, I set up Operation Guardian to get the violent people that are in our prisons off of our tax rolls and get them over to ICE. So that's been my message, and we'll continue to do that to make sure that we are proactive with getting criminals out of our state. The federal immigration policy or workforce permits, that's all at the federal level. It's not working. It's broken. So that's why I'm saying the states are closer to our industries, and the state governors should control that.